You're listening to the InFocus Interview Show, brought to you by Photofocus.com, an online publication filled with education and inspiration for visual storytellers. This episode is made possible by our partners, Lume Cube, the world's most versatile light, and Drobo, a smart storage solution. Now here's your host, Vanelli.
Hello and welcome. I'm Vanelli. Now, my guest for this InFocus episode has been in the photographic industry his entire life. He's a marketing and social media guru who has written numerous books, has spoken at all major photography conferences, and has hosted thousands of podcasting hours, helping photographers reach their full potential. Please welcome Skip Cohen. Hey, Skip.
Okay, I was just going to be silent just to drive you crazy and let you think you lost the connection. So everybody should know that it's taken Vanelli 10 minutes to get started because every time he went to say something, I cracked a joke. So, all right. But I got you there for a second. You thought, oh, no, I just did that great intro with this knucklehead, and now he's not here. Hey, Happy New Year.
Lord. Hey, Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, buddy.
Now, Skip, our topic is going to be on setting realistic goals. And I do realize that it may be different depending on the level that you're at in your photography career. So what words of wisdom or advice do you have somebody, let's say, who's been at this for a lot of years and they feel burnt out, versus somebody, who's just starting out in the industry and they're pumped and they're excited?
Well, first of all, in some respects, it doesn't make any difference. The first issue you've got to do is just take a little time to kick back and figure out what you want to be when you grow up. And I don't mean that to sound so sarcastic, but there's so many photographers that think, oh my God, it's a new year. I've got to jump in. I've got to make this change. I've got to make that change. This didn't work. That didn't work. And you make yourself crazy. And maybe the fun time of year, at least right now in this first few days of January, maybe the greatest purpose there is just to be patient and just kick back and chill. And it sounds like I'm suggesting everybody has to procrastinate, but it's not procrastinating if it's a purpose. And maybe the purpose is just to relax, recharge your battery. For most photographers, in fact, most business owners, December was insane. And this year, even more insane if you're in any aspect of the retail business, because there were less shopping days between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And companies like Walmart and Lowe's and Home Depot, I mean, these guys were all going out in late October with Black Friday specials. I think the earliest I might have seen one was somewhere around Halloween, and somebody was talking about Black Friday coming early. So this last December was crazy for everybody in any business. Take a few days and just relax. Think about what you want to do and where you want to go next. And I'll just keep talking until you tell me to stop.
No, you're a wealth of information, and that's why I love having you on the InFocus podcast, because you could take a topic and enhance on and go down a path that most people normally don't see. Like relaxing, you and I both know why that's important, but I didn't even think of adding, hey, let's step back, relax for a moment, take time to recharge your batteries. I didn't even think of that. And so that's why I love having you on. So
everybody jumps. And part of the challenge is that major shows, for example, CES is right out of the blocks. Imaging USA is in a couple of weeks. And all this stuff takes place in January. And it used to be nice when there was very little in January and you could just take the time to recharge. Well, we don't have that luxury anymore. So that's obvious. And most businesses can't just shut down. You still want to keep business going. But when it comes to looking at your goals and setting standards for the year ahead, it's really important to take your time. And I want to read you a quick quote that I shared in a blog post earlier today from Ellen Goodman. It says, "We spend January 1st walking through our lives, room by room, drawing up a list of work to be done, cracks to be patched. Maybe this year, to balance the list, we ought to walk through the rooms of our lives, not looking for flaws, but for potential. And I love that because, let's stop. Maybe everything that you did, that any of us did last year, maybe all the things we did were the right things. And for the most part, we did them all for the right reasons. They may not have been blowout projects or promotions or things that we might have done. But the goal was to grow our business. The goal was to expand our skill set. So I love the idea of kicking back a little bit and using this time to think about where the potential is that we might have missed previously. I mean, as a good example, there's so many photographers that don't pay attention to the demographics of their target audience. I mean, for example, if you're a newborn photographer and you're going to open up a studio in Bay Harbor Island in Miami where the average age is 85, location isn't going to work. It's the wrong community. And that's really simplistic. And I don't even know if Bay Harbor, my grandparents lived there years ago. I don't know if Bay Harbor still is more or less a retirement community. But the reality is that you've got to pay attention to what you're offering and match it up to your audience. And I've used that line a lot over the years. If I can see the world through my client's eyes, then I can sell my client what my client buys. You've got to think about who your target audience is. You've got to think about, what is it that mom needs help with? What is it that's happening in her lives? Because for most photographers that are listening to this, I'm guessing that mom or women are pretty much the target audience, because women make 98% of the purchase decisions to hire a photographer in those portrait social categories. So kicking back a little, thinking about the potential, and then you want me to go on? I mean, of
course I do.
I just start rolling, everybody. Take the time, and this is the only thing that's actual that I would say is physical important to thinking about your goals for the new year. Start by listing all your assets. What are all the things that you do well? What are the skills you have? What's the gear you have that fits the needs of your audience, or what it is that you're trying to build and develop in terms of your brand awareness? When you're done with that, sit down and be realistic about your liabilities. What's your weak suit? I know that lately I'm meeting an awful lot of photographers that claim to be natural light specialists. And every time I hear that, I know it means they're scared of studio lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they're not afraid of it, but their business took off and they didn't really need to know it initially, and now they do. Take the time, and maybe lighting is a good one. Take the time to get to know lighting. Take the time, look at what you need. How are your posing skills? I know everybody wants to just, shoot like a photojournalist and not pose. But if, for example, you're a wedding photographer and your style is more photojournalistic, sooner or later, mom or grandma is going to want that silver frame photograph that's going to sit on top of a piano somewhere, and you're going to have to pose the bride and groom or the wedding party. And that's a really simplistic example. But you need to understand what your liabilities are and what are you missing. It might be gear. Be realistic on what gear you think you're missing, because everybody gets it in their head. Well, I've got to have a new camera. No, maybe you don't need a new camera. Maybe what you need is a better understanding of the technical skills you need, be it exposure or composition. Maybe you need more lighting gear. That's great. But same thing again, just like camera gear. Rent it before you buy it. Every photographer's got one story about some exotic lens that they thought they needed. I remember Joe Busink, when we did Joe's book together. Joe talked about once buying a tilt shift lens because he thought it would make his wedding work look so different. And I think he used it once or twice and then sold it used at a loss. In the meantime, he tied up cash flow when he was first getting started, and cash is king. And you need to have your cash flow. You don't need to be eating macaroni and cheese or ramen noodles through 2020, providing you take the time to lay out your business. And again, you're looking at your assets, and then you're looking at your liabilities. And then you start looking at, all right, how am I going to fix this? And this is the this is the cracks to be patched that Alan Goodman talked about in the quote. There are cracks out there that you all know you have that all need to be patched. And it might be as simple as expanding some of the gear. It might be as simple and as important as taking a course with Vanelli at the next conference he's speaking at. It might be as simple as just watching some great YouTube videos of some of the icons you care most about and admire. And I'm going to shut up for a minute and let you get a word in.
Hey, Skip, you're on a roll. So the first thing you said, like I said, I liked what you said in the beginning, relax, recharge your batteries. While you're recharging your batteries, take stock in your assets and your liabilities. And then from there, like you said, patch the cracks. If something needs fixing, fix it. If something continues to work well, keep letting it work well. But I think that's the whole issue, is that a lot of people don't self-reflect. They think success always has to deal with dollars and cents. And it took me how long for my sports portraits and stuff to finally, kick off. And the stuff I did back in 2015, now it's getting reviews or rave reviews. And here we are in 2020, 5 years later. So it's look at, if it works for you, keep at it. If it's not working for you, figure out what you need to do to either alter it or even scrap it.
Well, sometimes things aren't working for people because they're pitching them to the wrong audience. And that's another thing. I mean, with social media today, photographers have the same reach that a newspaper had 20 years ago.
That's true.
I mean, you've got, not only the same reach to more people, but you've also got expanded reach from more people. So you can wander through, and I mean, I'm an administrator in Facebook Wedding Photographers, which is almost 37,000 people, and at times it's just way too big to try and manage. But there are 4 of us that are administrators. But if you wander through there, you will see images that show trends. You will see questions from other photographers on equipment. Sadly, every now and then there's a troll that jumps in and just is somebody who never listened to their parents on how to play nice with others. But the point is that you'll see all kinds of work and new ideas. If you go through YouTube, and all you've got to do is pick a half dozen photographers who you admire and use the search box in YouTube, you'll find short videos. I mean, there's one in there that's a series that must be at least 10 years old, from Tony Corbell on, each one is different, 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, and 4 light, I believe. And they're just short videos that are helping you understand lighting a little bit better. Now, it's dated. Tony you'll see Tony's weight is way up to what it was before he lost it all, but it doesn't change the quality of the message. Same with people like Michelle Salentano, and Suzette Allen has hundreds of videos there to get you thinking about other things. And there's so much there. And then you've got places like Photofocus.com and Skip Cohen University and Shamira's Pro Photographer's Journey. There's so much out there to draw from. And yeah, people hit the panic button, and it's like, I don't know what to do. And maybe here's one other example. And if you're okay with it, I'm going to use one of my favorite companies, Platypod, as an example. I mean, Platypod, we talk about changing your perspective. It's depending on what you're using. It's not meant to always replace your tripod. It's a sidekick to your tripod. But the point is, when you're in a situation where you're looking for a different perspective, there's a lot of incredible work that's being done, literally from a different angle. I mean, Bob Davis in Chicago drops a camera on a Platypod at the start of the aisle at a wedding and does this one signature shot straight down the aisle once the wedding party is all in place in the church or temple or venue. And it just gives you a different perspective. Well, that's the same way you've got to look at your business. And maybe success, and you said something about success a minute ago, maybe success isn't as much bottom line as it is top line, meaning having a smile on your face. I mean, somebody asked me a long time ago, what was my definition of success? I won't deny for a second, when I was younger, it was all about how much money I made at the end of the year. Did I make money? Did I make money? Well, there's also a point as you get older, and I won't deny, I'm an empty nester. There aren't kids at home. My overhead is different than it was 25, 30 years ago. But the reality is, my definition of being happy is waking up with a smile on my face. It's being excited about what's going to happen in the day ahead, not dreading it. And in fact, just the conversations you and I have had over the years, it's about appreciating what we do for a living. And seriously, there are so many photographers out there that forget that as an industry, we are the magicians. We're the ones that give people the ability to take intangible moments and turn it into something they can hold in their hands. They can look at it on their phone. They can look at their computer forever. And that's pretty amazing. And when you think about that, when you think about what we do for the world and what the world would look like if it wasn't for imaging, if it wasn't for photography and video, what would it look like? I mean, a magazine and a newspaper would be a bunch of stick figures. Everything would look like the OJ trial. Of course, I'm dating myself now on that one.
No, interesting. Well, I'm here. We're doing this broadcast. You're in Florida. I'm up here visiting my sister in New York, and I came across an old photo I took of Casey Powell. Now, he's the lacrosse legend. He's the Michael Jordan of lacrosse. And when I had 4 years that I got to photograph the Florida launch, and every time Casey, who's from Syracuse, would do an amazing feat, he would just get out there and, blow through a couple defenders, do this amazing leap in the air, and score. He would get up. The whole team would congratulate him. He'd look for me. I'd look for him. He'd point, and that's what we had. We had our signature pointing photo. We just did it. Well, when they retired his jersey number, I thought it was fitting. I looked on the field. I caught his eye. He caught mine. I pointed. He smiled, pointed quick, and that was the final image we have of him pointing, and there behind him is his jersey that they're retiring. So I don't know what, I felt nostalgic. So I put it up on Instagram, not realizing my Twitter account was connected. Well, it blew up on Twitter, and all these fans are so excited about seeing Casey. And here's Casey living in Syracuse now. That just gave me an excuse to get a hold of him, go out to lunch and just talk with him, on what his new projects are. So as you said, our photography has so much strength and so much ability to cause influence in the world that more, that more photographers need just to remember that and just get excited and start shooting more.
Well, there's a great story, the same way you were telling the story about Casey. Rick Friedman has a story about knocking on Arthur Fiedler's door. And for those of you who don't know Arthur Fiedler, go look him up. I mean, he was the maestro of the Boston Symphony, and just phenomenal conductor. But Rick just went and knocked on his door on a long shot. And it turns out he wound up taking one of the last pictures ever taken of Arthur Fiedler. And Arthur is in bed. He hadn't felt well. And he's in bed and he's reading music like some of us would read a good book. And he's just sitting there in bed working on it. And there's Rick as a young photographer, just getting started, capturing one of the most famous pictures of Fiedler. And again, one of the last. So it is about taking advantage of the opportunities, but it's also, and you hit on something with Casey just now, and if there was one goal everybody needs to have for 2020, it's the importance of building relationships. There's a great book by Scott Stratton called Unmarketing, and the tagline, the byline to it is stop marketing and start engaging. Your greatest marketing tool to build your business in 2020 will be building relationships. And you can do that through your blog. You can do it in person. You can do it with other photographers. You can do it with your vendors. But it's that relationship building that's going to help you get to everything else. And I mean, one last thing I'll hit on the general topic. When it comes to goal setting, uh, goals are sometimes like New Year's resolutions. We all set these New Year's resolutions. In fact, I don't bother anymore, because I know that most of what I think in my heart I want to do, odds are something's going to get in the way, and I'm going to break it in the first 48 hours, or the first week of the new year anyway. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have goals. Just make them realistic. And as you're sitting there trying to figure out, what do I need to make this year better? Look a little bit in your heart and see what's missing. And this goes back to your assets and your liabilities. It's also important to remember to step outside your comfort zone, because that's the only way you're going to grow. And we're about to go into convention season. CES kicks it off, Imaging USA, WPPI, one show after another over the next few months. And then in August, ClickCon jumps in, and we go back in the fall in New York with PPE. And then you've got all these shows all along the way, from state and regional conventions. So you've got to go to as many as you can, but it's not just about sitting in a class and listening to somebody. It's about talking to the person to the left of you, to the right of you. It's about meeting other photographers. And it's about sharing and watching each other's backs.
Great.
Boy, I am all over the place on this podcast. So,
the next segment I think will be great is you just gave some great advice on where to turn. And I'm noticing education. We keep pushing education, and that's something we've talked about for the longest time. So what we'll do is we'll take a moment, we'll take a break and take a moment to thank our partners. And when we come back, let's talk about what are some of the exact goals you would actually recommend for 2020.
Deal.
Hey, I also want to mention to make sure you enter the Photofocus Celebrates 21 Years contest, where you could win a camera of your choice up to $3,000, as well as prizes from our friends at X-Rite Photo and Video, Santa Fe Workshops, Drobo, Skylum Software, Planiverse, and more. Now, we're giving away prizes every month for a year, leading up to the grand prize drawing. Now, enter today for free at photofocus.com/celebrate. Now, by signing up, you get our free photo toolbox, complete with 5 free ebooks, lookup tables, creative profiles, and even a copy of PhotoLeamer. So, get started at photofocus.com/celebrate. Now, let's pause for a moment and thank our partners.
Lume Cube. Lume Cube is proudly known as the world's most versatile light. It's the smallest, lightest, most compact professional lighting solution on the market. Lume Cube represents the future of LED lighting and is a must-have for anyone looking to create better photos and video. Check out the new Lume Cube strobe, offering anti-collision lighting for drones at lumecube.com. Drobo. Drobo is a smart storage solution that protects photos, videos, and more from hard drive failure, giving peace of mind for the working pro or serious amateur who have a lot of external drives cluttering up their desktop. Save 10% at drobostore.com with the coupon code Photofocus.
And we're back, and I'm here with Skip Cohen, the guru when it comes to motivating people, inspiring people, and just a wealth of information on everything from photography to marketing to actually dealing with people. So, Skip, I'm glad we're back.
I'm glad I'm back too.
We're going to talk about individual goals that you can, or suggestions. One suggestion you already said before the break was education. And you listed an entire year long of different workshops that people can go to and conventions. What do you have coming up? Anything particular yourself?
Well, yeah, let's talk about conferences. you need to go, everyone needs to go to as many as they possibly can. And you may sit there and say, well, WPPI is all about wedding photography. No, it's not. It's about imaging. And there's a little of everything there, no matter what your skill set. I'm headed to Imaging USA in a couple of weeks, and there's going to be a lot going on the trade show. There are a lot of different classes. There are a lot of workshops. And one thing that I always recommend is take at least one class a day, if not more, that are completely outside your comfort zone. Let's assume that, I don't know, let's assume you're a wedding photographer, but you really hate photographing newborns. Well, it doesn't mean you shouldn't take a class so that when that bride somewhere down the line who was ecstatic with your work that you did covering her wedding contacts you because there's a new baby and she'd like a family portrait, you can either choose to take it on or you can refer her to a friend. The whole point is that you never want to say no. You always want to be able to give a client a solution in terms of whatever their question is. So you may hate doing newborn photography, but maybe you've got the skill set, or maybe you've got a friend that does really well in it and you can do a referral. Another thing would be in terms of lighting. I talked about lighting earlier. Business and marketing. I mean, when I first started doing business and marketing classes, I used to laugh because I would get 12 people, of which 6 of them I had paid to be there, and Don Blair would get 400 people standing up doing a posing workshop. That it's not as bad anymore, but it's still heavily weighed to how do I take images and capture images as opposed to how am I going to sell them. And there's a line I've used a lot over the years. It's what good is creating the greatest images of your life if nobody knows who you are and nobody knows how to reach you and you haven't done any marketing. So you still need those business and marketing courses. Also, I mentioned relationship building. Go on Amazon and look up Scott Stratton. Buy Scott Stratton's book on marketing. The point is that your greatest skill or your greatest tool is in relationship building. And that's another aspect of this, and that's another thing you can do at conferences. Then you've got videos. YouTube is jam-packed. I've suggested a lot of times over the years that when you're having that morning cup of coffee and trying to get the juices flowing to start your day, pick a photographer and throw them into the search box in YouTube and watch some of the videos. There's so much great information out there. For example, whether you shoot Tamron or not, Tamron's got an outrageous group of really incredible photographers. Go take a look at the videos they're sharing. Go into Photofocus, for example, and type in the search box any particular topic and see what comes up in terms of articles and podcasts that you've done and Shamir and I have done that might be related to that topic.
No, you're right on track.
Way off track again.
I like it. Nope, you're right on track.
Am I on track? Okay. All right. For those of you listening, raise your hand if I'm on track. The point is you want to set goals. And, if you only set goals that say, all right, I want to earn X amount a month every year, and you just stay focused on that, then you lose the passion for the things that'll get you to that dollar amount. And I know that everybody talks about success, and success is whether it's the car or the boat or the house or the vacation you want to take, but getting there doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to have every skill set down, or you've got to have every piece of gear, or you've got to be able to do your own printing. I mean, one of the greatest resources everybody has out there for setting your goals is just picking up the phone, calling your lab and saying, what's new? And then just shut up and listen. I mean, you've seen some of the stuff that I've done with Bay Photo, and their Performance EXT metal prints are incredible. And they're outside. There's a whole new product line that everybody could offer their client base in terms of a print that's going to be out on their back porch or patio, whether it's a family portrait or a scene, some scenic shot. But unless you ask your lab what's new, you're not going to know what's new. And that's another reason to always go to every trade show you can, because you want to see what's new.
Yeah, and where we've gone, like you mentioned Bay Photo. When we were at the last Photoshop World, they had Exposure, the new product line, where it's I can't even describe the type of paper it's printed on, where you can't tear it, and it's smudge resistant. You make this little metal frame that they give you, this aluminum frame, and you literally just click the photo onto this frame, and it weighs maybe not even a pound. And we put that up on my wall instantly. So here's this 3 foot by 4 foot huge poster of my aviator, the little girl Erica that I've been photographing since she was little. Well, the neat thing about it is at the end of the month, I could take that down, give her the print, and then they also printed another photo for me, my fencing prints that I did from one of my other students that I had many years ago. Now I can put that on the wall. Well, just when I saw that, I realized, wow, if you own a photo studio, how cool would it be to have that image up on the wall for a full month? And then when the client comes in, you say to them, hey, we're giving you this as our gift. And then you put another picture up of the clients that you worked with, for the previous month. Clients would love that. Just to see, wow, they used me as one of their examples. So I never would have gotten that idea if it was actually Brian and I believe Dave Mosier who said, hey, there's this new company. They want you to try out their prints. They're going to send you a free one. Tell me what you think. Well, they didn't just send me one, they sent me two. And because they sent me that second one, that's what gave me the idea of, oh, wow, okay, 1 frame, 2 prints. If one of my interns just got married, if he doesn't have wall space to have all these incredible photos up, here's a perfect opportunity for him to get 4 of those prints with 1 frame and then just swap them out every quarter. So if he doesn't have wall space, here's a great way that he can incorporate it.
All right, so here's another one, and Bambi Cantrell probably did it 20 years ago in a Starbucks in Walnut Creek, California. She went into Starbucks, and knowing how much Americans love their coffee, she offered to decorate Starbucks with her prints. Now, there's so many photographers. Helen Yancey tells a great story about how she first got started and having her prints up in a local cafe. There's so many photographers that need to get their work out there to be seen. And doctors' offices, Starbucks, there's so many places and opportunities where mom is going to be, and knowing that mom is often everybody's target audience, especially in the portrait social categories, put your prints out there for mom to see. And it's going to cost you a little bit, but you're using a great example with some of the material that Bay Photo is offering. It's not rocket science. You obviously want an image that's stunning. And it may not need any more than a stack of your business cards that are going to sit over on a coffee table in the corner, and get your images out there for people to see them. Make that one of your goals this year. Again, I said it before, what good is creating the greatest images of your life if nobody knows who you are?
Well, hey, Skip, thank you so much for taking time out on a holiday week to share your wisdom with everybody.
Well, I'm glad you find it loaded with wisdom. I was trying to work on a line here for everybody out there. At the beginning here, if you were listening, I went silent, letting Vanelli think that he had disconnected me. But I owe this man so much crap for things that he has pulled on me. This is the ultimate practical joker. I have a Best Buy here in Sarasota that I can never show my face in again, because he suggested that I didn't know what a jump drive was. And the sales clerks just looked at me like I was from outer space, but it was just hanging out. It's called Hanging Out with Vanelli. So, buddy, Happy New Year. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to a really successful 2020.
You got it, buddy.
You are listening to the InFocus Interview Show. If you like these interviews, be sure to subscribe to our weekly Photofocus podcast on photofocus.com. Thank you for joining us.